Hey there, folks. Mark Lewis, back for another edition of WMS Wednesdays. And I released last Wednesday's session, which was everything I know about moving to the cloud and when you should do it on WMS. And I hope that's been pretty well received. I've already got some good comments on it, so that's cool. Glad you are listening to me. One of the major aspects of that is integration, the technology piece of it. How am I going to do that? And I talked about a 2, 3, 4, 5 year strategy. And I mentioned that Redwood has a RedwoodConnect, and there's others like Boomi out there. I said it in the thing. Weirdly, right after that, the next day, Dan Gordon, and another person, I'll let him introduce Sam and tell you how this came about, put out a blog post on that topic, specifically what they're seeing. And I thought, okay, that's perfect. We're going to do a quick session on this. Let Dan talk about that, because it's exactly an adjunct to probably the most technology stressful pieces of doing this. And I don't think it should be. That was my closing argument. It shouldn't be, but I know it is. So with that, Dan, why don't you introduce yourself and talk about Sam and what led to that post, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm Redwood's SVP of Solutions Engineering. I get a chance to work with shippers, with other LSPs, 3PLs. I work with tech partners across the industry, and one of the major topics that I discussed with them is actually on the integration side. And so a few weeks back, Sam Martinez, who is one of our directors of 4PL strategy, came to me and said, "Hey, we're seeing this trend. A lot of the customers I'm talking with are telling me that they're trying to move to the cloud, that they want to be able to adopt some more modern technology, that they're looking for TMS, WMS, OMS, and they want to bring all this stuff together. But right now, their ERP, the core backbone of their business, is old AS400 technology. And what can we do for them?" And so we've got a lot of history in that area, but we broke it down in a few different ways. The first thing to acknowledge is, why are companies still on AS400? And the answer is, it's not just that it's really difficult to tear out. It's also generally, you're not going to find a company that's been using AS400 for 5 years, right? This is something where they've been using it for decades. And in that time, what they've done is they've built in so much custom business logic and true customization that the idea of moving to best-in-class point solutions is so daunting and such a massive undertaking that a lot of times, as they're planning for that, all other major initiatives stop. So as an example, you've got so much customization there, and now you're moving into an environment where it's all around configuration rather than customization. And so they say, all right, well, our IT team is going to go heads down, is going to be focused on a transition plan and identifying our go forward ERP, whether that's an Oracle or a Microsoft or SAP or whoever. And this is what they're going to be doing for the next 5 years. So if you, supply chain leader, want to put in a new WMS, want to put in a new TMS, OMS, well, good luck. Put that in your budget 5 years from now. And that tends to be the messaging up front. Mark, did you have something?
No, I was just laughing because that's exactly the situation where Kim was like, just literally the other day, what led to my first post was somebody needs AWS. They're stuck for a lot of reasons and they want to do it. But at the same time, the company's looking at an ERP upgrade. And I don't want to wait 5 years. Exactly what you're talking about. I said, there's no reason to. And that's specifically, I thought it was a really interesting alignment. You should not wait. You go ahead and get this turned on with some integration architecture, and you don't need to wait 5 years, because those benefits that you've already documented and you already want, it's stupid to wait 5 years. You should do it now.
Some of these supply chain leaders, with a severe bias for action, they're saying, well, okay, well, could we just integrate our current AS400 with the new technology that we want to surround it with? And, obviously bandwidth from IT tends to be a really big obstacle, but another big obstacle is these systems don't just talk. There's no magic button to just push and say, hey, let's just go ahead and integrate these. It's a fairly complex integration using a very customized data model and having it speak to, again, a more like best in class standardized data model in the cloud. And so the first piece that we want to address is, all right, using RedwoodConnect, using a team of true logistics experts, what we can do is get under the hood and say, hey, IT team, don't worry too much about the actual lift on this. You don't need to write a bunch of custom code in order to integrate this. Expose that data in some way, shape, or form. Work with us and tell us what this data actually represents. And then we'll do all that heavy lift because we actually understand what these cloud applications are looking for and what best in class process actually looks like. Then we also say, all right, let's tackle the next problem. The biggest objection of, well, why would I put all of this in place when I'm just going to change my ERP in a couple of years anyway? And the answer is, during that transition, one of the things that you can do is implement some dynamic routing, put in some custom business logic, and allow for both the historical or legacy systems and the new ERP to also be talking together with the cloud technology you've now implemented, and make that a more seamless transition as you're switching off of those. So you don't have to do it all in one big bang. You go, all right, North America is gonna now transition, and now EMEA is gonna transition, and Latin America, and you go from that perspective, or this business line is gonna transition, and then this other business line, etc. So that you're making that a much more gradual transition without interrupting the integrations that are currently in place, all through one platform. And that's the real key to success on it.
Excellent. I want to keep this one short. And by the way, just for everyone out there, we are going to put a link to the actual to Dan and Sam's blog post. We're going to be in text when we post this. And I do want to keep it tight. And I also want to say that I just realized Dan's the first person from Redwood that I've had on this series, because this is meant to be good. Congrats, Dan. But I want this to be a thought leadership series, but as the way it works out, when you have a product and the people in your business are also the thought leaders, it makes sense. Everything Dan is saying is accurate for RedwoodConnect. There are other systems out there, but we're pretty good at it. So I wanted to bring him on and have him talk. Any single last point, Dan? I'm laughing that it was IBM, because I'm old enough. When I first got into this, the old joke was nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. That's not the case anymore. Things change, but that's why there's so many out there. That was just what you did. And believe me, I've had to integrate probably literally well over 100 WMSs to IBM back in the day, quote unquote. It ain't fun at all. So this is awesome. It's a great topic. Any closing thoughts? And then we'll let everybody go.
The only closing thoughts are, one, AS400 is in place for a reason. It did the job that it was meant to do, and so everybody who is switching off of it, it's all about scale and future facing. And our message to that shipper base that is looking to transform their supply chain tech is, don't wait. There is no reason to hold back and wait for a 2, 3, 5 year project from IT. This is something that can happen concurrently and actually improve the success on both sides of the equation.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you all for sitting in on another edition of WMS Wednesdays. If you have any questions on this, want to follow up, we're going to put Dan's contact and my contact as always in the session, as well as a link to Dan's blog post. Thank you all very much, and see you next week.